Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to be here. So, the first formal welcome for our guest speaker, Dr. Good friend of the whole department, the staff, the environmental science, because we have been associated for many years. So, he's not a new person to the staff, but he's very new to the students of our environmental science faculty. So, on behalf of Tamil Nadu University, Directorate of Environment and Environmental Science, I wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Mohan Raj. Yes, he has a wide knowledge because he has already worked in Salimali Center for some time, and he's the person who is currently doing many research on the ecological aspect as well as the environmental remediation. So, coming to the biodata of Dr. R. Mohan Raj, so he is at present holding the post of professor in Department of Environmental Science and Management at Baridas University, Tiruchirappalli. So his primary research interest lies in environmental impact and risk assessment, urban air pollution, hydrogeochemistry, ecological restoration, forest carbon dynamics, and corporate environmental management. And he has completed 5 major externally funded research projects as principal investigator funded by various government agencies. And also he has graded more than 7 PhD scholars in environmental science and environmental management. Then previously before 2004, I think he was in Salim Ali Center for Ornithology and Natural History as a senior research associate in as well as in senior research associate in Amrita University. Then he has got the Commonwealth Fellowship Award. Visited Birmingham in UK for 3 months, and he was awarded UGC Raman Postdoctoral Fellowship and visited Pennsylvania State University US for 1 year, that is 2013 to 14. So he has published more than 80 research articles in peer-reviewed international and Indian journals. So his major research interests are environmental impact and risk assessment, followed by urban air pollution and ecological restoration. So if anyone is interested, you can always contact Dr. Mohan Raj for your research, for any analysis or any guidance related to your project. I think he will guide you. So you can contact at any time to Mohan Raj. And I think with this brief introduction, I request Mohan Raj to deliver the special lecture. Before that, I also welcome all our university officers, business NRM, and colleagues who have joined online for this special lecture. Welcome, Dr.
As man rightly said, I am not new to this department. It's somewhere in 98, 99, and 2000. I was a regular visitor to the department. In fact, at that time, Professor Augustine Serviceville was the head of this department. So I came in search of a experience. So we were in fact asked to study air pollution, particularly the particulate matter less than 10 microns in Coimbatore urban air. So we have around some 8 to 10 something stations. So and maybe people would have studied air pollution at that time, but not less than 10 microns. We were interested to know the polyaromatic hydrocarbons in the PM10. So at that time, it was very difficult to get a GCMS and HPLC. So ma'am was in charge of HPLC at that time. So I used to make my best, please help me to do this analysis. So ma'am referred to Professor Karthikeyan. So he helped me, but still we couldn't find out any at that time there also there was a problem. But now the issue is why I'm trying to tell all this thing is now we have in our university LCMS, MSMS, GCMS, MS, but no one is interested to do any research. But for the analysis of polyurban, I went up to New Delhi Jawaharlal University, then here. But finally I got it. I mean, some instruments somewhere in companies. Aromatic compounds they extract and they some perfumery in Rajapalayam. So I had to go to the industry to get that one done. And again, I good afternoon to all of you, respected professors, scholars, and I forgot to request them. Purna Chandra has done commendable research. So, in fact, in reality, myself and Professor Sivasubramanian in 2001, 2002, I think 2002, we witnessed the real world issue of this textile dye effluent. We went to a place called Chinnamuttur, Porthupalai, place downstream villages downstream of Porthupalai. So there was a dam, Porthupalai Dam. So literally, it is full of there is no single drop of water in the Noyal, but a Porthupalai Dam is always full just because of the effluent. And the farmers nearby, originally maybe they all have wealthy farmers because the irrigation was through lower Bhavani channel, and modestly fertile land. In some places, very fertile land. So, because of this dry effluent, which contained the salt and the dyes, within a span of 6 or 7 months, their entire well water or source was completely contaminated. And when we went there, the people were they thought that we are again coming to do some sort of they were about to beat us. Then we have come here to hear you. Well, you have been enduring this problem, so we want to hear it from you. So they showed us how their skin rashes and they had to, women in the family, they had to walk more than 6 kilometers to get a good water, free of dyes, water free from dyes. They showed their water. When this blue in color, so they say some days it becomes red in color, some days blue. So that's an issue. And in fact, it aggravated after the globalization. So we can blame it on globalization, where the Tirupur production increased, the foreign exchange increased to more than 25,000 crores. So then you can imagine the quantum of dye effluent being released into the river Noya. So this is, we call it as a negative environmental externality. So the people in the Chinnamuttur downstream of the village, they had no connection, or they don't have any stake in this zero profit. But the women have to go to 10 kilometers and maybe suffering from disease. Every day they have to go to doctor, loss of man days. They don't share any profit from this people. So this is what we call it as negative externality. Somewhere some people get affected. That is human beings. But what about the ecosystem, ecology? From the ground, right, from groundwater to the surface water, every day. So that triggered some interest in the ecosystem. How there is in fact, after our study only, university also they assessed the loss of ecology, loss of ecological health in the work of parliament. They came across I think some several thousand crores. They assessed compensation there for people. So
After Adelaide University,
you have also done some studies. So you can imagine why we need to take to. So just for the short term benefit, we go for all this export and all, but in the long term, it is several thousand crores lost to the ecosystem. But why the other countries, the developed world, now India is the 4th largest economy, and they're they're aspiring for 3rd largest economy or something. At that time, what will happen is now slowly it will move to. Recently, I visited Bangladesh. Now, the Bangladesh has become is getting more polluted because we thought that okay, we can stop, we can import now. If the people become rich, if India becomes rich, then we don't need to manufacture this dye effluent, and we don't need to, the manufacture all this garment. We can directly import from the countries like Philippines or Vietnam and Bangladesh, other less economic. So probably this is. I asked somebody, what is the solution? This is the solution. After India becomes wealthy, the problem will move to some other country. So some solutions are there, like Purna Chandra is attempting to do, but still a lot more has to be done in that direction. I think she has. Though I was concentrating on air pollution, some of my friends at that time, and since I worked in Salim Ali Center, so slowly my mind inclined towards the ecology and the ecological aspects. Very recently, we have a collaboration with this IMCT. Institute of Oral Genetics and Treatment comes under the IC versus ICR. There is ICFR Institute. So one day he called me and he asked, ICFR has got some money allocation to work on invasive species. So they had selected 5 invasive, the most invasive species in India. The Prosopis rudiflora, Lantana camera, Icornia, and I think Chromalina odorata or something, the 5 most invasive. So he asked me, in Trichy, in and around Trichy, you have a lot of Prosopis rudiflora. So please give me a small proposal so that we can work. It's an all India project. So likewise, I'm though interest is not initially I was not much interested to do this work, but later when we started and trying to understand the Prosopis rudiflora, the stands here and there. Otherwise, we see the Prosopis rudiflora while passing, just see and then go. So very interesting thing we could we went to almost some 100 Prosopis rudiflora in the invaded lands in 5 districts. Then started analyzing which all plants could survive in that Prosopis rudiflora province. I think almost so. Ultimately, we came to the conclusion that it is the first thing when it feels that it is Prosopis rudiflora is people don't have positive attitude towards it. Generally, even the government is trying to, wherever possible, you remove the Prosopis rudiflora. Interestingly, we came across it's not advisable to remove the Prosopis rudiflora because it controls the soil erosion and it enriches the soil organic matter, enriches the nutrients, and most surprisingly, we found that the Prosopis rudiflora in the roadsides. In fact, the soil contains less heavy metals compared to the other one. It also absorbs the heavy metals. So these are some of the, but then the biodiversity loss is something which is very, which is the most significant negative impact. Whatever the positive things it does, but this one alone is sufficient to, onslaught other things. So likewise, we are trying to understand in those 5 districts, there are some sacred undisturbed patches, not undisturbed. These people let this trees, they will cut the trees. We can either call it as sacred groves, or for some reasons or for some or other reason they are protecting that kind of areas. No, by trying to understand what's going on there, what is the ecosystem service this particular native trees, native stands are giving. So here, very interesting. The ecosystem studies are services. Now more and more journals are coming up. The journal called Ecosystem Services, Ecological Engineering, So we also have some very good journals here. And ecosystem service, if you do some research in ecosystem service, it's beneficial to the policy maker as well as the whole research community. So in that way, so now slowly we are looking into the ecosystem services. So that means just okay, but generally people think that we are de-linked from the natural ecosystem. We don't have any. If you ask someone, if you catch someone going an IT guy or even our own some students, if you catch them and ask, do you know about what is the natural ecosystem? And no one has a correct answer. They say all those systems are available somewhere in the place or somewhere. They have not seen and also they feel that there is no connectivity between what are day-to-day life and then ecosystem service. But the reality is something different. If there is no ecosystem service, everything will cease to exist. I mean, slowly, including the crops, including the DNA is working on several crops, drought-resistant crops, and so many things. But everything is derived from the wild. So if the wild stops, you may not get a new crop in future. And so this was the news somewhere in June 10. I think you would have read this news. So this is just coincidence I'm just using this slide. So these people survived for 40 days. What does it mean? So that is the ecosystem service. Otherwise, also the human rate was dependent on ecosystem service only for till the Holocene period. Holocene only started maybe the last 20,000 years. Farming and the rearing of animals. All this started only. Otherwise, we were 100% dependent on ecosystem services for each and everything. Even now. But people don't know that we can generally think that politicians or the corporate sector, everyone thinks that we can exploit as much as possible the natural world. So I just have one question to you. Can anyone say? Can anyone tell that what percentage of natural is good for a given area in a country? Say, for example, in India. To protect this ecosystem services, which they are giving free of cost to us, pure air, pure water, all these things.
Small request.
It's a small information to remind us that still the ecosystem services are very crucial for the life support system. Not only the human's life support system, but also for the whole the earth. So this, these children, they survive for more than 40 days in Amazon forest, which means that everything is there, nature is providing us. But what happens is, as once Mahatma Gandhi told people, what is it? Not for the earth, ecosystem services are not for the greed, but only if you use it for the need, it is okay. But for the greed, but what is happening right now is we exploit too much, and then so these are some of the basic information. You can see that the provisioning services, regulating services, and then cultural. While coming, I could see that some lake view apartment, mountain view apartment, and all these things. So that means the ecosystem services find some cultural, all these things, educational, cultural, even commercial. If you have a lake view apartment, the cost will be even some 10 times higher than the other place. So that means people prefer to see nature. So nature is giving us free of cost, but these people are utilizing it for a lake view, mountain view apartment. And so this is how we try to understand the importance of nature. So otherwise we don't know. Maybe here, the flood regulation, for example, the coral reefs which were present in the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve. So many days people didn't realize the importance of coral reef, but the coral reef could successfully, or maybe it acted as a barrier for the tsunami. So wherever there was a coral reef, the damage was less. Then they realized the market value of coral. Until then, we didn't know the value of the corals. So this is how it's very difficult to analyze or put a price to this ecosystem services. Priceless. So somewhere somebody calculated, and then the world's now India is talking about 3 trillion economy, but at that time it's a 50 trillion economy. The cost of the ecosystem services is somewhere around the 50 trillion they calculated. 50 trillion dollars, which means that more than almost 3/4 of the, and that too, something we call as here. Slowly make time is not well. Okay, now another 10 minutes. So here, which we know, flood regulation, erosion control. Just now I was speaking about erosion control, soil erosion control. Even though prosopis was, appears to be a bad guy in this to many people's eyes, but it could control the soil erosion on one hand, and on the other hand, it also enhances the nutrients. So, but the issue here is what we studied is the prosopis releases some sort of flavonoids or alkalinoids and many other chemicals where a kind of hostile environment to other species. Only 5 species we find that coexisting in this kind of conditions. In our plane, in Trichy, around Trichy, Victoria, Zaratita, neem, then you call it as another one is Lamia corometalica. All these things coexist. So we thought that this is the right species to start with ecological restoration. This species can grow here, and we have planted 18 such species, rank abundance, and based on all these things. And we have to. And one interesting thing which we observed is, as soon as we remove the prosopis, after I visited the site after plantation, I visited the site after 3-4 months. Some new species are coming, which were originally suppressed by this prosopis. Virali we call it as, and I think more than 6 species appeared very naturally in that removed area. So anyway, now people are trying to understand or realize the service, and now slowly here we are moving towards reforestation. Old growth forest, then people this somewhere near the Holocene period, cropland, grassland. Now we are slowly moving towards, like I am speaking about ecological restoration. We are doing it there in Trichy, in one small village. Likewise, Government of India is also interested in ecological restoration. That means, which means we are again trying to bring back the forest, reforestation. So we realize the importance, and slowly and maybe in, and another important thing is places like Silent Valley, which is the old growth forest, the intact, undisturbed patch, should never be disturbed. So this is the people's movement. The Silent Valley is protected. When we were I was in Salimali Center, there was a huge, they wanted to build a dam after a dam in the Salimali, Silent Valley. It was stopped. And some small, and then they want to build a dam. But one thing, something we call it, it happened in nowhere in the world a place is protected for the biodiversity. That is very interesting. Kerala, people joined together. Somebody wrote, his name is, somebody wrote in a news daily that this place has to be protected. Everybody was interested to bring the dam, hydroelectric project. Government was interested, local people were interested because they will get some job. Every other person was interested. And TNEB, because they can, otherwise they are getting power from electricity from Tamil Nadu. So they want to be self-sufficient. Every other person was interested. Finally, some ecologists, one fellow wrote in the newspaper, this place has to be protected because it is very rich in biodiversity. Slowly, a movement started, and the protest started, and it became a statewide protest. And finally, this place is protected. Otherwise, half of this would have gone. So it didn't happen anywhere in the world. It was just for the sake of nature, they protected. So you can see the awareness of the people. So that is so the young generation like you, we should always have a awareness, and we should always try to raise the voice. If at all this can, at least right. Okay, this is so and so. Somewhere in the reader's mail we can write, okay, this is polluted. This has to be stopped. So slowly it will become. Now in Coimbatore, I think at that time we also studied some lakes in 97, 98. We started writing all these lakes are contaminated. Mutsananguram, Kumarasantram, every other cell lake is contaminated, and it's used as a dump yard. We publish some papers, and now it is working slowly. Now all the government is trying to revive all the bodies, and now every other lake is now being protected, at least in the smart city project. So which means that we should always try to raise some voice to protect the ecosystem services. Now all this groundwater is recharged. Even it's good for the farmer. So I don't know whether how many of you are aware of this particular thing called wood wide work, very recent concept. Generally, we think that in any area, the tree which is in the front of the forest and the tree which is in the middle of the nowhere doesn't have any connections. But there is just like we have the World Wide Web. This trees, the fungal network keeps this tree connected to each other. So this is a very recent discovery. And more importantly, and for example, if a pest, this particular tree suffers a pest attack, if it can't recover, tries to die itself, and this fungal network, it gives an alert message to its nearby neighbors. So there is some pest is coming. Protect yourself. Be ready with what is like mask or something we are wearing for the COVID, like that. So this information is there is a continuous flow of information, and in fact, it is like this fungal population gets nourished by this tree. Carbohydrates it derives from this. In turn, it gives the the nutrients. So which means really wonder why these trees are so altruistic. The students, altruistic? No. You don't know what altruistic means. Opposite to selfish. So this tree gives. So this system is surviving, say for example, Silent Valley or this old growth forest is surviving for several years because all act as altruistic. Trees are altruistic by nature. The straight opposite in our case. We are selfish in nature. We try to occupy, exploit, and everything. So in some very recently, I saw some small video. One police or something. Why there are more number of thieves? Thieves are like they want to they steal things from the rich people. If the rich is giving if the rich give to all, then the problem is solved. That is that thing is so here also. Everybody is happy because of the altruistic nature. So altruism is the one thing which protects the ecosystem. But on the other hand, today for the short-term benefits, we try to exploit more and more, which is the next. Already the collapse gets started, which means that the whole population will face a huge risk in terms of flood, or in terms of drought, or in terms of pest, in terms of diseases. So this is what is going to happen. So, whereas in this case, they are so altruistic. They even one can die for the support for the survival of others. So this altruistic nature is quite interesting in their natural labels. Okay. So this is what I have been talking about. So in the Anthropocene, the recent period we call it as after 1950s. We call it as Anthropocene, where humans are the drivers and they think that they can engineer and take the world to any direction, and then nothing will be the problem. So, but then, so this is why people are believe that there is a Holocene, Anthropocene had started, because you can see this. I have picked up this data from the show you from where. It's available everywhere. Since 1950, the GDP, foreign investment, urban population, energy use, fertilizer, large dams, water use, everything started from 1950. So this makes very clear that when Anthropocene has started and humans are driving this, all these things have direct impact on ecosystem services. Some people now also they are building some dams, and these are some of the, again, everything has increased. Ocean acidification,
this fish capture, shrimp aquaculture, nitrogen, nitrogen, which is called reactive nitrogen. Okay. This is what the question I asked you. In India, we have, as of now, anyone know that percentage of forest in India? 24. Yeah, 24. But actually, to get the complete benefit of ecosystem services, should have at least 40% to 50% of the forest. So that is why in US you have more, about close to 40% of forest. When I was in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is the state which has highest percentage of forest. I think 60% of forest. But once it was, the city called Pittsburgh, where because there were a lot of bridges. I was wondering why there are so many, but no purpose at all, but so many bridges. Then they told me there was a huge mine here. I know. When they don't know what to do, they simply build the bridges in this place. So, but now we went to the mining site. Now everything is completely abandoned. They don't want to mine. They want to protect and bring back the forest. Instead, they import all this, whatever they got from other countries. So they try to keep the forest to 30, 40, more than 40%. Which means that you can see in the future which all countries will be affected first and which all countries US still have. That is clearly shown in this here, India, which state is performing better here. Again, okay. This is one of the tropical forest degradation, a small example. Which in India, if you go to the night shops here, you get a lot of good parotas here. But they use palm oil. This palm oil is coming from Malaysia and Indonesia. 90% we import. And what happens is, here the palm oil, this palm will go to all the tropical forests get destroyed. And then they felled all the trees and they started cultivating. Monoculture, you may ask that anyway there is a forest like prosopis. So how it can retain all these things, no ecosystem services. But that is not true. Monoculture, including cropland, it cannot perform. The productivity may be there, but even the productivity is less compared to the natural. So the monocultures. Okay. So this is what happened in the last since Anthropocene. This paper somewhere PNAS July, the interesting paper. Livestock, human beings, whatever we have choice of the food, we have choice. So what happened is we only concentrated on increasing the cow population and the chicken. So which the wild animals had come down to 4%. Here you can see the birds. India has more than 1,300 species of birds, but now everything is coming down. All because of this. Previously, I showed something how this Anthropocene started at the pollution, degradation, exploitation. So now this is what is the risk. Half the species of population decline. 90% of the species considered threatened by ice. So these are you can see the category wise insects. This is what the new report which I took. The global assessment report is available online. 1,000 pages. You can read the summary. The summary is only 25 pages. Very good information on ecosystem services. So this is a very recent report, global assessment of intergovernment science and policy platform on biodiversity. It's available. Very clear picture there. They have studied in the last 10 years. You can see here all this, which our population has gone down. Current global extinction risk of different species. Here, so the value of this is the again ecosystem. So the value of agricultural crop production, which in the it's of your interest, has increased threefold since 1970. However, the indicators of the regulating contributions to the soil organic carbon and the pollinator diversity have declined, indicating that gains in material contributions are not sustainable. We can be proud of the agricultural productivity now, but then, as per this report, it is not. It is not sustainable, which means that we may not get any new crops, or maybe the existing crop, if it suffers from some climate risk, extreme heat, extreme drought conditions, or extreme flood conditions, these crops you may not. It's not sustainable. That's why. So I was thinking that only the pollution will be only through the chemicals and all that. But then even you can see, one of my friends is a scientist in CCM, Center for Cell and Molecular Biology. He had collected all the samples of the hair samples in the forest, every other animal, whatever is left over, some tissues, and he had collected and they have sequenced the genome, and he told me some new instrument has come to analyze some kind of hormones, where he says that almost 90% of the animals are under stress. Stress is not only to us, all the wild animals are experiencing very high stress in the wild. So, one example is like you can see, even insects and birds, they are not very happy with the light illumination. So, this itself is causing some sort of stress, which in turn leads to the decline of the species. So, right from the lightings, this is very new study, very recent one. June disappeared in Science. Effect of anthropogenic light on species and ecosystem. So, right from the lighting to the Purna Chandra's textile effect, every other thing is spoiling the natural ecosystem. And these are some of the examples which is to pinpoint that decline is there in India. Tomorrow, I'm going to go for another webinar in Nilgiris, and that student had studied 4 vultures, which are Nilgiris. So he says the population declined very recently. All the 4 species of vulture have declined. Very rare to find the vultures, which is vulture again is performing the regulating services to the ecosystem. And people think that only the coal-based thermal power plant and will have some impact, but also the wind will also have impact. So-called green energy is also not sustainable for ecosystem services. Now they find it very difficult to because this when it spreads the wings, it is more than 15 feet. Great Indian busted. So if it crosses the windmills, it gets killed by this windmill. So now what the government is trying to put some sort of mirrors to divert wherever there is a windmill. It's trying to divert their migratory path or their flight. So these are some of the, and again you can see here Siberian crane, which is almost extinct. So here the cultivated systems has grown. Countries like India, Southeast Asia, intercepted runoff, status of regulating services, everything has gone down. Maybe some are speaking about the climate regulation. We don't know how it is out. So the hazards also, these are the hazards. Floods have increased since Anthropocene. And something like which we call it as nonlinear changes, sudden disappearance of something, or sudden appearance of something. For example, nobody expected a COVID virus will break out, and yesterday they said that it was very clear. All agencies, federal bureau, FBI, all I think 5 agencies have studied and they come up with conclusion. It is not lab made. It is from the COVID is the virus from it's from natural origin. It's not even otherwise people were skeptical that whether it is lab made virus, but it is they are confirmed it's from the virus. So which is this is also it's a non-linear change, which we cannot never expect it. So such non-linear changes can come, may be triggered in this year when the ecosystem services come down. Such non-linear changes can we can experience such non-linear changes. Many of this like eutrophication, disease emergence. Now this month they expected normal rainfall, but what happens in that stretch? I think they say that only 30% of only 30% they have received normal rainfall for the month of June. June is almost over. So, so this is again not linear change. They expected good rainfall, but nothing happened. So these are some of the non-linear changes. So this is how we economic method of assessing the ecosystem services, use value and non-use value. This is like one thing which I want to tell here is people should not consider that, for example, Lamia coromandelica is a tree of no use. The place people think what this tree is giving to us. But there is an existence value for each and every tree. Biggest value. Day after tomorrow, some new disease may come. Maybe Lamia coromandelica leaf extract will give some remedy. So we don't know. So that is what we call it as that it will throw for crores. Lamia coromandelica tree will throw for crores. That is why that is how we have to value the natural system. So that is what is the biggest value. Future generation value. So here the point here is it's all interlinked. Everything is, you can see the watershed or a drainage basin. Everything is interlinked. If you remove something from here, this will be the condition. You can witness a non-linear changes. Okay, so with this maybe I can. These are some again non-linear changes. Nobody expected that. There is key landslides 2020. These are some of the risks that we are going to face. Yes. So this guy is he's called a deep ecologist. Mahatma Gandhi one day he told I am inspired. Actually, he never spoke anything about ecology, or he didn't write also anything about ecology. Mahatma Gandhi, but he lived as an ecologist, real ecologist. He never used he reduced his consumption. Including he never wears any colorful dress, and in his simple consumption, and he also promoted the production by mass rather than mass production. So all these things he says he got inspiration from this deep ecologist like Agne. Nice. Okay. So here you can see 4 different scenarios. For example, if the market forces rule the world. This is like, for example, the president like Putin, if he is ruling the entire world, what will happen? And the Europeans, now the great transition, people are considering everything, they are realizing, they are appreciating their nature, they are being altruistic. If people become more altruistic, that is what, then the world will be more greener. If they become more selfish, market forces, then even then the countries of risk you can see, these are the countries which are the poor countries or at high risk, immediate risk. We presented the statistics. So, in fact, I don't want to bore with my research. We are doing that now. It's ecological research. Maybe boring for research. And also, we don't have much research to show. We have another 1 year to get. Any clarification or even can supplement some points to this? So this year in our okay, so this year in summer, average temperature was around 20 to 23. Okay, really they are seeing that they were no.
So, but can be the reason. And sir, 2 days back, there was heavy rainfall in our.
Yeah, that's what we here on the last week also again the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar that body state. More than 30-40 people died. And the real statistics something very different now. And sudden heat wave conditions. Didn't expect some non-linear changes. So which we can't trace to where this is coming from. We expected as per the system, we expected this much rainfall, this much temperature. But suddenly, if it goes by in the places like see, in your case, in hilly regions, even 25 degrees is an extreme heat wave. Right, in Himachal Pradesh, 25 is also in the heat wave conditions now. So that maybe often you can witness now in the future.
See, I know it is bad.
That's
So from your presentation, sir, it is clearly we can understand is that ecosystem services is closely related to the environmental ecosystem. Speaking of the economics area. So probably more importance should also be that as a question. They are the world economics.
correct. Yeah. Correct. That was just for your information. I want to. So if I call somebody in the timber shop, if I ask the cost of this tree, he will put a value per 20,000 rupees. Suppose if it is sandalwood tree, maybe they will put something more value. As I told you, some Lamia metallica, if it is tomorrow some disease is going to come, we don't know the value of the tree. This is a rough estimate. The any tree will have some value of this is economists say like that. So we really can't value the things. Yeah. But still such studies have to be taken up. Only the findings of that kind of studies only have now created some sort of impact in the policymakers across the globe. People are realizing slowly they are coming up with some policies. There are also a camp Ministry of Environment and Forest, compensatory afforestation management, something they have started. All the corporate polluters should pay, like that corporate sector, they have to pay 20% or I think 10% to the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and they will do all these things. They will improve the ecosystem services.